think that is real.
Guys, that's what they're trading.
Trade what?
All those videos.
We have to do something, and we have to do it now.
Who's that?
The dark web is a shadowy place, home to the ugliest aspects of human nature. Among its many disturbing legends, none is as terrifying or as elusive as the so-called red rooms. The concept of a red room is simple, yet utterly horrifying. Imagine a live-stream video feed where a person is being tortured, or worse. Viewers aren't just passive observers, they're participants, paying with cryptocurrency to control what happens next. Each click, each payment, brings a new wave of suffering to the victim. The tormentor on the other side of the camera responds to the whims of the highest bidder. The rumors first started circulating years ago, but over time, they've evolved. It's said that these red rooms aren't just dark fantasies, they're real. Hidden deep in the bowels of the dark web, they cater to the sadistic desires of those who get off on pain, suffering, and death. These aren't mere stories designed to scare people away from the dark web. They're whispered accounts that make people question whether the worst of humanity is lurking just a few clicks away. In one particularly unsettling account, a user claimed to have stumbled upon a red room by accident. He was browsing the dark web, as many do, driven by curiosity. After navigating through several layers of encrypted links, he found himself watching a live feed. At first, it looked fake, like some cheap horror movie. But the sounds, the cries for help, and the sheer terror in the victim's eyes were too real to be dismissed. The user described how the audience in the chat box egged on the torturer, bidding money to make the victim suffer in specific ways. Some wanted the victim burned. Others wanted to see them mutilated. And the horrifying thing? The torturer obliged. Every command, every sadistic request, was carried out with disturbing precision. The more you dig, the darker these stories get. Some claim that the victims in these red rooms are kidnapped, sold, or trafficked from all corners of the world. They are nameless, faceless individuals who are stripped of their humanity the moment they are captured. Once they enter the red room, there's no escape. They are nothing more than puppets, and the puppet masters? A crowd of anonymous users, hiding behind the safety of their screens. The anonymity of the dark web makes it nearly impossible to track down the origins of these rooms. Law enforcement has tried, but the sites disappear just as quickly as they're found. And the people running them? Ghosts. Digital phantoms that leave no trace behind. Yet, every once in a while, a whisper emerges from the darkness, another red room, another victim, another story that may never be verified. But here's the real question, how much of this is true? Are these red rooms merely the twisted imaginings of the internet's darkest corners, or is there a grain of truth beneath the layers of encryption and horror? We may never know for sure, but just the possibility that there are people out there capable of creating such things is enough to keep you up at night. If you thought the red rooms were terrifying, wait until you hear about the rumored human experimentation that's been said to occur on the dark web. These stories blur the line between fact and fiction, but what they share is a chilling sense of realism. The thought that anyone could be subjected to horrific experiments without consent is truly the stuff of nightmares. The stories go like this. Deep in the dark web are hidden forums, inaccessible to most, where individuals discuss and document human experiments. These aren't your typical scientific trials or medical studies. These are grotesque, inhumane, and often fatal experiments performed in secret and without mercy. And the worst part? People are watching, some for entertainment, others for profit. It's said that those who perform these experiments target the most vulnerable members of society, the homeless, the forgotten, the ones no one will miss. These individuals are snatched off the streets, taken to hidden labs, and subjected to experiments that would make even the most hardened mind shudder. One story tells of a so-called scientist who documented his experiments on an anonymous blog, only accessible through a maze of dark web links. He wrote in clinical detail about his subjects, people he had abducted from various cities, and the horrific things he did to them. He described injecting them with unknown chemicals, seeing how their bodies reacted to high doses of radiation, or even grafting animal parts onto their flesh in twisted attempts to create new life forms. This self-proclaimed researcher wasn't interested in advancing science. He didn't care about understanding the human body. His only goal was to push the limits of suffering. And for what? The approval of a sick audience, willing to pay just to watch these twisted experiments unfold. In one particularly gruesome tale, a subject was kept alive for days after having most of his limbs surgically removed. The experimenter documented every moment, describing the psychological torment of the victim as his body began to shut down. The viewers, watching from the safety of their screens, commented with sick fascination, some offering suggestions for what to do next. But who are these so-called scientists? Are they disgraced doctors? Psychopaths? Or just people who are curious enough to test the limits of life and death? Whatever their backgrounds, they operate in total anonymity, leaving no clues behind. The dark web provides the perfect cover for their crimes. Their victims? Forgotten. And their experiments? Hidden from the eyes of the law. Every so often, law enforcement agencies catch wind of these dark forums, shutting them down when they can. But for every site taken down, 10 more seem to pop up in its place. The dark web is vast, and its secrets are well guarded. The most terrifying part of these stories is that unlike urban legends, they have real-world parallels. Throughout history, humans have been subjected to horrific experiments, often in times of war or oppression. So, when we hear these dark web tales, they feel all too possible. They remind us of the darkness that humans are capable of when given power and no oversight. Among the many services said to be available on the dark web, none is as chilling as the idea of hitmen for hire. For the right price, it said, you can hire someone to do the unthinkable, take another person's life. The anonymity of the dark web makes it easy for those with twisted motives to connect with those willing to carry out their deadly deeds. Imagine being able to browse through a list of hitmen as casually as you would shop online for a new gadget. That's the dark web for you, a place where the unimaginable becomes disturbingly possible. Now, most people assume that these sites are scams designed to prey on the desperate, the angry, and the vengeful. But not all of them are fake. There are stories, chilling ones, of people who have actually gone through with it, who have paid someone to kill, and who have watched as their target disappeared from the face of the earth. One of the most famous stories is about a hitman known only by the name Cold Steel. He operated on a notorious dark web marketplace, offering his services to anyone who could pay the price in Bitcoin. His ad was simple, but effective, no job too small, no target too protected. He boasted a track record of successful hits, politicians, business rivals, even ordinary people who had simply crossed someone the wrong way. The legend of Cold Steel is perhaps the most disturbing because of the detail involved. One story claims that a man, consumed by rage after his wife left him for another man, sought out Cold Steel's services. The client provided all the details, the new boyfriend's name, his workplace, his habits, his home address. Cold Steel agreed to the job, the payment was made, and then, the waiting began. Days turned into weeks, and the client began to believe he had been scammed. But then one night, as he was scrolling through local news websites, he saw it, a report of a body found in the woods. The description matched the man he had targeted. No trace of foul play. No leads. Just a body, left to rot. Some say Cold Steel was a scammer, playing off the paranoia of those who sought him out. But others believe he was the real deal, an elusive killer who left no traces behind. And for every Cold Steel, there are countless other dark web hitmen, real or imagined, offering their services to the highest bidder. The scary part is, even if only a fraction of these stories are true, it's enough to make you wonder how many people have disappeared, never to be found, because of a deal made in the darkest corner of the internet. These are the stories that haunt the dark web. Red rooms, human experiments, hitmen for hire, whether these tales are real or not, the fact that people are talking about them is disturbing enough. And for those brave, or foolish, enough to explore the depths of the dark web, remember this, once you peer into the abyss, it's hard to look away. The dark web is a place that reflects the darkest sides of human nature. Whether these stories are true or not, the mere possibility is enough to send shivers down your spine. Some things are better left unseen, and some doors should remain closed. If you enjoyed this dive into the dark, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated with more chilling stories. Sleep tight, if you dare.